overlanding for us was why we wanted to get out and explore. Really, we wanted to go out and be self-sufficient, living on our own in the wilderness in a great truck, and exploring the world. Africa was our first destination, and we just wanted to get out and see the animals. Like I say, explore, really. We didn't really know what we'd find when we got out there, but it was a great adventure and something we were really looking forward to.
Why overlanding? In our opinion, any other method of transportation brings you from point A to point B. Having your own vehicle, you can see what's in between. And most of the times it's worth most of out of a trip.
When you experience in any other form of transportation, you're not in the driver's seat. So with this way, we actually get every second as our own, and it's really inspirational.
Overlanding is just fantastic. It gives us the ability to go to incredible places, meet wonderful people, see fantastic sights, and it's just total freedom.
Yeah, I think the type of vehicle we have gives us the ability to go off grid longer. So we have enough water, food, etc. to stay longer. We have a bed that we can just fall into, which is great. And if we don't like it, we move on. If we do, we stay.
In 2010, on our second trip to Argentina, we met a Dutch Overlander couple who had lived between four wheels for more than 25 years, and they had already seen a lot of the world. At that point in time, we did not have a master plan of what we would do a few years later when I would retire. Traveling a lot and far had always been an important part of our life, and we would certainly remain so in the future. We could not have imagined at that time, with the best will in the world, that it would become almost a copy, be it in a shortened version, of that dream image that Dutch couple sketched to us when we spent an evening together in their camper.
I don't think any of our friends really understood what it was we were trying to do. Although, most of them were very pleasant and very encouraging, I did find when I was working, people started to move their desks slightly away from me because they didn't want to talk about solar panels and batteries and things. Although they wished as well, I think quite a few didn't really understand what it was we were trying to do.
As for family, I think they've been used to us travelling quite a bit and being away from them, but they don't actually understand the sort of overlanding concept and what we are actually doing, although they do worry about our safety as such, but the rest of it, half the time I'm sure they don't even read the blogs or anything, so no, I don't think they really understand.
Our family is our biggest support network.
They're our number one fan.
And support us 100%.
We often get asked what our favourite and what our worst places are. We've travelled so many places and there's so many good things about so many of them. Personally, I loved Zimbabwe. It blew me away. The countryside is spectacular, really friendly, helpful people, and wildlife all over the place. And we had a great time in Zimbabwe. In South America, we had amazing experiences going up the Andes, and I think the warmest welcome we had was in Colombia. The Colombians were just so happy to see us everywhere we went. We had a really good time in Colombia.
Yeah, I think in terms of worst places, there was nowhere that we really disliked, but I think big cities for us. So in South America, La Paz, capital of Bolivia, really didn't have a lot going for it. And major cities of Africa also, not really great places that we would say to rush to. Capital cities like Kampala, but overall every country's got something good and something bad, and we've loved every country we've been to.
Our advice for anyone wanting to overland is just do it.
It's no more what if, it's what's next. That's what's good about overlanding.
We fell in love with Southern Africa, where we spent 25 months in 13 different countries. Surprises like getting the opportunity to see and even help catching 2 rhinos that needed to be moved to another park because of the extreme drought, and volunteering for a few weeks in a chimpanzee orphanage in Zambia are lifetime experiences you will never forget.
In the future, our plans look like pretty much the same. We've worked out a really strong work-life balance, and we plan to continue as long as we can.
Looks like we're going to be fully booked for the future.
I think overlanding is a wonderful way of life, and it's been way above our expectations. The things we've seen, the people we've met, it's just been fantastic. But it's not all a holiday. I mean, there are some tougher times. You know, you have got to work behind the scenes to make it happen.
Yeah, there's been some challenges along the way. Weather conditions, there's lots of things that sort of throw a spanner in the works, but that's life on the road, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got to have a breakdown or something happen, and you've got to replan. That's the only way around it. You have to start replanning and getting around your problem.
Not the destination, but the journey is the goal. Overlanding is a way of living at your own speed and on your own terms. Travel takes on a different meaning. It's no longer a means to an end, but the life goal in itself. Everyday life is about the places you pass through and the people you meet along the way. Alive in the world and not just in your own neighborhood. The art of overlanding is what the word says, an art. We did not plan a lot apart from the harbor cities where to ship from and to, as you have to comply with schedules and regulations. We just take it as it comes and mostly don't plan more than a few days ahead.
Overlanding proved to be probably 100 times more
Educational
More
and
good.
active.
more impressive than what we expected.
It's a history book that I didn't quite learn enough of at school, and I am so appreciative of actually learning it firsthand in all these amazing destinations. Straight out of a history book, straight in your face.
It's recommended.
One of the things you may be concerned with when you start travelling is how safe it's going to be. Are you going to meet corrupt policemen? Are there going to be cases where you're going to get roadblocks and bandits are going to hold you up, or are you going to have things stolen and your vehicle broken into? We actually have found, travelling now for 7 years, that it's not really that much of a problem. The vast majority of people out there are fantastic and really welcoming, and we've had a couple of policemen try and get a little bit of an extra tip from us, but you normally just talk them down and negotiate your way out of it. But we've had no real issues with crime or any security problems at all on our travels. It's just been great meeting people all over the world.
Obviously, setting off on a journey like going overlanding a long time, it's quite nerve-wracking for the first time. And I can clearly remember loads of things that we used to lose sleep over and worry about. And in reality, none of them have become a major issue on the road, and everything seems to get itself resolved as you go along. I think you've just got to relax a little bit more, and things will come out okay. That's my thinking on it. Eventually, it will come out okay. So that would be my bit of advice: is just relax a little bit more with the planning. We didn't do it right.
Having done lots of self-drive safaris in Africa and driving around the Middle East and various other countries in various vehicles, overlanding wasn't really that much of a shock to us. It was basically just an extension of what we'd done on previous holidays, and we're thoroughly enjoying it. It's been great fun.
The biggest surprise when we're travelling is the people, and how kind and helpful and understanding they are, even though you're in cultures and different languages that you've never met before. And it's how you actually approach them with a positive attitude that makes the biggest difference.
So she says it, and it's spot on. It's, if you don't know the language, approach with a smile.
Yeah.
To be able to do this for a long time, an overlander must be flexible, adventurous, and prepared to step far beyond his comfort zone. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. That's part of the fun and part of the pain. It is the life you're looking for. Despite the challenges, nothing gives the feeling of living so real. And yes, it changed me. I see the world through different eyes. I see myself through different eyes. Being so confronted with myself was a pure, however not always pleasant experience. Overlanding taught me knowing myself and wisdom in general.
Well, we definitely want to carry on travelling, but at the moment with the COVID worldwide situation, who knows? It's going to be a lot harder. But I think we're probably going to. It's our plan at the moment is ship to Central America, maybe Mexico, and then carry on from there, doing North America, Canada, and down into Central America.
Okay, I think also, I mean, our long-term plan is Australia and Asia, but really the plan is no plan, because in our heart, we actually like to turn around and go back and do South America again.
In 6 years overlanding, we were almost 5 years on the road. The other months we spent in Europe. The plan was to fly home for a couple of months every year. However, as there were some unforeseen issues, we had to fly back a couple of times more than originally planned. In other words, the only thing constant in life is change.
It can't help but change you. I mean, you see all these things that you wouldn't have seen before, and they're all really amazing. But I think the biggest thing for me is understanding and becoming more tolerant of other people. I mean, we've had hospitality from people who have nothing. And then on top of that, when you see the thousands of refugees that we've seen up in the north part of South America, the Venezuelan refugees, it has to change you. You know, it's heartbreaking. Nobody can not change.
Yeah, I definitely think it has changed us to that bit, because the poverty, it's just so sad. It really touches your heart. But I would say it's also changed us in the way that we've got an addiction that we want more travelling. You know, we're always looking for the next thing really now. So even though we're quite relaxed more into it, we still like the challenges. Definitely. And future plans. So yeah.
So now, a friend was living in our house and taking care of the property. But Corona changed all this, and we moved back into it much earlier than planned. We left our vehicle in Mexico. So from now on, we will have longer breaks at home related to the seasons and the care of the property needs, as well as the desire to spend more time with family and friends. But we will continue overlanding as long as we can. We started our America's journey in Montevideo, Uruguay in October 2017 and hope to finish it in Alaska sometime in 2023.
I think I'd say to anybody who is about to set off on an overland journey, long-term journey, is to sort out as much of the stuff at home as you possibly can, because things that are going on don't go away and you still have to deal with them, and it's the last thing you want to do when you're on the road.
I'd say that language is really important because it'll enrich your experience and get you out of a hole. Also to have access to emergency funds, because like with this COVID thing, we had to fly back unexpectedly and that's very expensive. Yeah. And maybe a list of people that you can have as emergency contacts, or people that you know that can help you out in the future. But most of all, just get out there as quick as you can and have some fun.
One piece of advice I think I'd give to an overlander that's setting off in a vehicle is to do some little bit more in-depth research on their vehicle and possibly learn some basic motor maintenance skills for that vehicle and learn if there's anything unusual about it from a maintenance point of view, and also to get a workshop manual. The workshop manual will be very useful for yourself if you're doing the maintenance, but also if you do have a problem with the vehicle and you're in a foreign country where you don't necessarily speak the language of the mechanics that you're going to get to fix it, at least having a workshop manual, you can show diagrams, it'll give them a clue as to how to do certain jobs on the vehicle, and it'll help them explain to you what the problem is. It can also be very useful if you're trying to get spares, again in a foreign country where you don't speak the language. You can go into the spare shop and you can show them the part you're after in the workshop manual, and I think a lot of people would find that a very useful tip.
One of the questions we get asked the most is, what's your favourite destination and what's your worst? But
We watched the fellow Overlander the other day, actually. He's been overlanding for more than 25 years, and somebody asking exactly the same question. So his answer was probably the one that covers all us Overlanders. He said that if I close my eyes and I'm trying to figure out which place I like most, all I see is people. So it's people that make the trip worth watching it, worth being part of it.
so every experience I remember the best is being the people.
Yeah.
And the worst, we don't remember those ones.
Yeah, we forget. Short time memory.
It's always hard to make a short list of your favourite places, but I think I could probably narrow it down. For me, it would be the Pantanal in Brazil. The wildlife and the vegetation and the greenery was just fantastic. And we managed to get ourselves to the Galapagos Islands for a break, which was also just fantastic.
For me, it would be Torres de Pan, Puerto Merino, and El Chaten, because the wilderness and that we could just camp anywhere down there, and the sights were fantastic.
Scenery was good.
I think for the negative side, it would be probably Peru a bit because of the rubbish and the pollution.
I think big cities. We're not big city people, so we found places like La Paz in Bolivia, Santiago, Chile, and Lima in Peru just too big for us. The cities were too big. We didn't enjoy them.
If we could give an advice and turn back time, we would tell to ourselves to start earlier. The planet is beautiful and there's a lot of things to see out there.
Yeah, it's about slowing down and actually looking at what you're seeing. Step away from the camera lens and slow down and smell and feel that experience.
When looking at our planning that we did for our journey, really we considered all the rules and the regulations for the vehicle and what we would have to do to go to a country and what the visa requirements were. But the actual travel within the country, we don't plan. We try not to do very much planning at all, because you actually find when you hit the road, you will meet other people and they'll give you great ideas and inspirations of places to go to. So really, we restrict our planning to the basic legalities of going to and from one country to the next.
Many people ask, what is your favorite place? When talking with other overlanders, we noticed that it's different for everybody. Our top country in Africa is Namibia, because of the beauty of the landscapes combined with the emptiness. It's the second least populated country in the world. In South America, Peru gets our first choice, thanks to the beauty of the landscapes together with the amazing culture and history.
Brakes. Brakes are very important from overlanding. For us, we are self-funded, so obviously we need to collect some money, but even for people that they have solved their financial problem, brakes on overlanding gives you a chance to restart and recharge.
Yeah, don't let it ever be a routine. You need to actually break it and then make it more exciting again.
Now, for the how long, that's, I think, is personal. I think everybody should figure it out itself.
In early 2000, we had already traveled shorter trips by rented campers and rooftop tents in Argentina, Australia and Namibia. But our greatest uncertainty was whether we could, being used to quite a lot of living space and a pretty dynamic private and business life, survive and enjoy life with just the two of us on just a few square meters for a very long time. That's why we decided to go for a 6-month test drive, destination Morocco, and learn by practice how to deal with this challenge and travel mostly off-road in all kinds of circumstances.
I think overlanding has changed us in terms of causing us to slow down and take a more leisurely approach to life. Before we started travelling, we both had fairly demanding, high-pressure careers, quite high stress. Once we hit the road and we learned to slow down, everything became, take life as it comes, deal with the issues on a day-to-day basis, and learn not to get stressed about anything. So we're much more chilled out and we feel healthier for it.
We were 18 months before we had our first break. We went to the Galapagos. That was wow. And from there we went home actually for quite a few months. Then it went on sort of another year, and then we went really to Brazil to see the carnival, which we had a fantastic experience, and that was for a month. We went island hopping, which we couldn't have done with our vehicle, so that was really great. But I think it depends what works for you, but I would say that it gives you a chance to recharge your batteries, have a little break from the environment, but you know, it does depend.
I think for us, we now think that every maybe 12 to 15 months, we would plan some sort of break from being in the vehicle.
We travel full time in our vehicle. We don't really take breaks from it. Once every 18 months or so, we'll fly back to home for maybe 2 or 3 weeks to visit friends and families and stock up on a few treats from home, which we can then fly back out. But generally, no, we stay in our vehicle the whole time. Even during COVID, we spent 12 weeks living in the car park in Whitehorse, in minus 31 outside. But the truck is our home. We don't have anywhere else to go, and we love it.
To be able to do it for a long time, an Overlander must be flexible, adventurous, and prepared to step far beyond his comfort zone. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. That's part of the fun and part of the pain. It's the life you're looking for. Despite the challenges, nothing gives the feeling of living so real.
The most positive thing that changed inside us from while overlanding is the way we see people. There are no more strangers. The fear is gone.
And any language is easy to understand if it starts with a smile.
While overlanding, in fact, we only missed friends and family. During our breaks in Europe, we had some difficulties finding convenient places to stay, as our own house was occupied by the house sitter and his family. Staying with friends and family was obviously not always easy. If we could have done this differently, we certainly would.
One of the pleasant surprises overlanding that we found was that it's actually cheaper than we thought it was going to be. Having a reasonable vehicle where we're self-sufficient, we've never felt the need to have to check into a hotel, and so we've been able to travel cheaper than it would be living in a home back in our home country.
Yeah, and I think also another pleasant surprise was how many other people are out there overlanding. We kind of thought, because we set off before a lot of the forums and there was not much on the internet about overlanding, we kind of felt we were probably going to be pioneers, and as soon as we got out there we realised no, there's plenty of people out there travelling. Actually, what we're trying to do is nothing new. There's a lot of people out there and a lot of great, other travellers that we've met, and we've had a great time with them.
When it comes to planning, well, you have to have a general plan. You have to have an idea about where you're going, very raw plan where you can adjust as you go. So yes, it's never a standard planning.
But the world never gets smaller when you travel. It always gets bigger. When we first did our trip in South America, we had about 300 points on a map that we wanted to see. And by the end of the trip, after 2 years, we had about 750. It was amazing.
We're quite often asked about how much it costs to go overlanding. I mean, we can only talk from our experiences. For us, not including shipping or holidays and things like that, just everyday life always seems to come out to about £45 to £50 a day. We can cut that down by not travelling that much. Sitting tight saves money. If you want to have, save money on fuel, sit tight for a week. That helps to budget.
And also probably not doing the touristy things, because that can be where a lot of money is taken. So I think it just really depends on your personal finances and what you want to accomplish on the trip, and how you're prepared to rough it, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
Overlanding is not for everyone. Actually, it's only for a few people. It's not a vacation, it's life. It's not all sunsets on tropical beaches and fantastic views. Not always great meals and cultural highlights. Of course, they are there, but it can also be tedious and difficult. Long journeys on terrible roads, car problems, dirty showers and toilets, endless waiting at border crossings and spending the night in noisy parking lots. Never be completely clean, and you do miss friends and family from your home base. Hence, the bright side of the medal, the lifetime experiences made us addicted to overlanding.
If we had to go back and advise ourselves before we set off, with the benefit of hindsight, I think we'd just say slow down. We set off at quite a pace to start with. That's not to say that's for everybody. For some people, a fast pace is the right thing to do. But for us, looking back, we wish we'd probably gone a bit slower in the first year or so.
My biggest fear really was, would I be fit and well and healthy enough? Because as I left, I wasn't really quite up to it. The second fear really was whether we would actually like it. Would it work out okay? Would we find it too hard? And third, a little bit, I would say a little bit about security, because I am a bit of a scaredy cat. But I would say up to now, everything's been great and none of our fears have been founded.
We traveled almost 7 years and we still have not finished our big trek from Tierra del Fuego to Alaska. As soon as we have Corona under control, we will continue our journey. In retrospect, we should in fact have started a lot earlier, as we enjoy this kind of life more than the life we had before.
It's pretty physical. Overlanding can be quite hard work, long days on the road, lots of bumpy roads, lots of vibration. It's physically can be quite demanding. We don't tend to travel every day. We'll maybe travel 1 or 2 days and then we stop for a few days, and that's definitely helped.
Yeah, I think that also just finding out about the routes in front, whether your vehicle's suitable for some roads, the weather conditions. So if you're sort of driving in really bad weather, we try to avoid it, but sometimes you just can't. And just the physical tiredness and the wear and tear on the body.
How much money do you need to overland? This is a great question, and it's very individual for every person. We actually have a budget of €100 a day, but that's based on everything included. So the big ticket items like getting the car to a certain destination of shipping, or insurances, or tickets for us to get there. But once you actually do the longevity, that hopefully, like longer years or longer time away, it starts to come down every time we make better choices.
So our advice is hypothetical. You don't need a budget. Keep one in mind, but you will work it out as you go.
I think the people have been the biggest surprise for us. We plan to visit all these amazing places, but the people we've met along the way who have just been incredible. The local people in every country we've been to, it's been the same story. They've all been absolutely fantastic, and other overlanders. I mean, the help and the hospitality we've had is it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes, but that's been quite a big thing for us, I think.
And the other sort of surprise is really just the vastness of some of the countries. The roads just go on and on and on and on. So yeah, that's a big surprise.
Yeah, I think that's because we live in a country that's very small and we can drive from one end to the other in a day.
Yes, we had a couple of things we were afraid of, but most of them they had to do with us and how we're gonna handle the overlanding more than what we will face where we're going.
And it was the cutting of the ties from the normality that probably gave us the biggest what ifs, but we had to just let go and go.
And that's what we did.
In terms of hardships overlanding, we haven't really found a great deal that's that's hard about overlanding. We've really enjoyed it, and it's been a relatively easy lifestyle. The main thing is probably supply chain. You can take it for granted when you're living in most Western countries that you can either pop to the shops or you can go online and order something and have it delivered very quickly. When you're overlanding, you just you have to think a lot harder about how things are going to be delivered. Use DHL, which can be costly. So yeah, we've had a few supply issues, but other than that, no problems at all. No real hardship.
Planning, God, we went well over the top. We had tons of maps everywhere. We had dots on them in different colours, where we're going to go, where we'd like to go, where we maybe like to go, where the borders were. Our Foreign Office sort of printed off all the notes to do with that, where the hospitals were, what the weather patterns were, and visas. And we spoke to lots of people with blogs and people on the way. Whereas in fact, really, in reality, we didn't join up all the dots. We were very flexible. If anyone said to us, "Oh, you want to go there?" we thought, "Well, why not?" So planning, just too much.
Things we find hard about overlanding is having to compromise on some comforts.
You can see our car behind. It's a small 4x4, so space is limited.
But what you compromise on space, we actually have more flexibility on where we travel, but sometimes it's just hard to fit all my clothes in that car.
Indoor space is crucial when it comes to those rainy days. I don't like getting wet.
No, I don't like packing wet stuff either. That's not fun.
So far, we still see overlanding as the best decision we took in our life. It made our life so much richer and brought us so much wisdom. As soon as the COVID-19 situation is under control, we hope to continue our overlanding trip in the Americas.
If we will do it again, we just never stop doing it.
And with the world it is now, it's really more important to actually try and do what we do as best we can, because you just don't know what your freedoms are going to be.
I think we would actually do overlanding again if, we went back in time and we had the opportunity to set off. Yes, I think we would. It's been great. You can always put it off for the rest of your life. You can always say, we'll do it next year, the year after, we'll get this much money, that much money. Go when you can. There's no point in dying the richest person in the graveyard, and nobody ever looked back and wished they'd spent more time at work. So if you can give up work and get to overlanding, do it.
These trips don't happen by chance. There's a lot of work goes into planning them and sorting out your vehicle and sorting everything out before you leave. It's an awful lot of blood, sweat and tears. But I'd do it all again in a heartbeat. It's just been fantastic.
Yeah, the memories we've made, the places we've seen, it's such a dream come true, really. So definitely would do it again.